JFK, John F. Kennedy, and then at LSU. He's the co-host of Prep Recruiting Insider, Wednesdays at 6 on WHNO TV 20. He's a recruiting columnist for SportsNola.com and does high school games for Fox Sports New Orleans, LHSAA Games of the Week. He's also done college games for ESPN and previously worked for LSU at Tiger Vision. Please give a warm Rene New Orleans Sports Foundation Quarterback Club welcome to Rene Nadeau. Rene?
Tough act to follow, Eddie, my goodness, so where am I going before him? Congratulations to all these coaches. I know all of them very well, and I know there were speed bumps along the way and some challenges you didn't expect. So to get where you are has not been an easy path. I want to congratulate Ryan and Tony with De La Salle, too, the great job they did this year, and I congratulate young men recognized for the academic success. I'm here to talk real quickly. I know you're looking at your watches. I'll be out of here in 25 minutes, I promise. But anyway, the Saints, good and bad. They played a good game, but unfortunately bad. They played the best team in the NFL. I want to share a quick story with you, good and bad, kind of make my point. There's a collector, and he's with a very wealthy businessman. And the collector says to the businessman, I got good news and bad news. And the businessman says, well, give me the good news first. He says, your wife invested $5,000 in 2 pictures. That's going to net her about $15, $20, $25 million. The guy says, man, she's a brilliant woman. I got to give her more attention. Now, she's really intelligent. What's the bad news? He said, the 2 pictures are you and your secretary Fluffy at a resort in Arizona. If you didn't get it, he's going to cost the guy a little money. Okay, good news and bad news with the Saints. Dennis Allen has tweaked some things, but you got some personnel guys in place over there, and guys missing tackles, ducking. I mean, fundamentals. You got defensive backs ducking before a tackle. You got wide receivers in the opposition running all over. You got busted coverages and everything else. And I know everybody's talking about Brandon Browner. Okay. And they talking to Sean Payton yesterday about 12 men on the field. But you ever get the impression when Brandon Brown was on defense for the Saints, the opposition is playing with 12 men? And everybody has knocked the Jimmy Graham trade when he was first traded. It looks pretty good now, doesn't it? I mean, Max Unger and Stephon Anthony. And speaking of Stephon Anthony, he's on course to have 150 to 155 total tackles for the season, which is pretty stout. And to show you what kind of class I would put him in, back in 2000, a guy named Brian Urlacher was Rookie of the Year with 125 tackles. 2012, Luke Kuechly had 165 tackles, was Rookie of the Year. That puts him right between those two. I'm not saying he's going to be that good, but that's pretty elite company. The Saints are the 4th oldest team in the NFL. The Rams are the youngest. Carolina is the 2nd oldest team, so I guess that's good news for the NFC South teams. The Patriots are the 19th oldest, so they look like they may be around here a while. But you got contracts, Jari Evans, Marcus Colston, Zach Strief, 32 years old this year. You got a couple of 35-year-olds, Kevin Williams and Ben Watson at 35, and of course, Drew Brees is going to be 37 when this year is over. Not sure what's going to happen to those guys because they're certainly in the twilight of their career. Some fans a little bit, as they're watching the game, are kind of hoping maybe the Saints will lose just enough to get the top pick. But be careful what you ask for. Having a top pick and picking the right guy is 2 different things. Not sure if Garrett Grayson is the answer to the quarterback problems, but we'll see after this year where the Saints fall. And if they do use a pick, don't know if they'll use another pick on a quarterback, if they don't feel like Garrett Grayson is the long-range answer to that. 2006 draft was outstanding. They still have 3 guys on the team from that draft, Jari Evans, Zach Strief, and Marcus Colston. Unfortunately, there's 2 guys who are still in the NFL doing pretty well, Rob Ninkovich and Roman Harper, also from that class in the NFL. I want to talk a little bit about LSU. They got the bowl game is going to be against this Texas Tech, and that's going to be interesting. And Les was saying about how they're going to tweak some things, okay? You're not tweaking the players, you're still going to have the same players. So I don't know why you'd be tweaking everything now in the bowl game, but we'll see what happens. Texas Tech is the 2nd in the nation in total offense, 2nd in scoring, and 2nd in passing offense. The downside is from that standpoint, is they are the worst in defense. Has LSU played a common opponent or played an opponent that's similar to Texas Tech? Yes. On October 24th, they played Western Kentucky. It was a team very, very similar. Western Kentucky, who LSU beat 48-20. Pat Mahomes for Texas Tech, 4,283 yards, 32 touchdowns. Brandon Doughty, as old as 4,600 yards and 45 touchdowns. He's the Western Kentucky quarterback. So comparatively, Western Kentucky, their quarterback is a little bit better. And actually, in total yards, Western Kentucky actually had more yards than Texas Tech. It's going to be a Leonard Fournette against the Texas Tech defense, which is the worst rushing defense in the country. That'll be interesting. LSU's defense, pass defense, is fourth in the SEC, allowing 211 yards. They have 28 sacks and 9 interceptions. And you know this train wreck that happened before, during, and after the Texas A&M game concerning Les Miles. That actually had a little different effect on the recruiting, because the players carrying Les off the field on their shoulder pads sent a message to recruits that, that this is their guy, that they stand up for their coach. You know, young players, as you guys know here, they watch things like that. And when players take up and respond to something like that for their coach, that sends out a message. Final thing I want to say is LSU's future does look bright. At certain times during the Texas A&M game, LSU had 7 freshmen on the field at one time. Will Clapp, Tuma, Weathersby, Tyron Johnson, Foster Morrow, Bryce Keithlin, Mike Mouton, and Darius Geis. 7 freshmen on at one time. So that says a lot for the future for the next 3 years. It's going to be an interesting game, LSU and Texas Tech, going to Houston. I think that's really going to be an interesting game to watch. I know you're running late. Thank you for your patience. Always great to be here.